I'd love to take a moment here to talk about the basic vocabulary of what goes into building a search campaign.
Nice.
So starting first with those two paid results that we looked at earlier. By the way, Matt here is credited with getting Vinyl Me Please into position 1. This is a company that you worked with.
This is a company I've worked with, and we just thought it was a fun example. It's music, it's records, it's, had some fun challenges.
Yeah. So kind of as we think through how Vinyl Me Please got their results to show to the user, we'll walk through sort of the journey of what Google is doing behind the scenes to get that there. And it all starts when a user types in a search term and submits that to Google. And that's the search term, the actual word that they typed into that search bar. And that is going to trigger, we'll see how in a second, a set of ads. In the old days, we used to refer to these as position 1 and position 2, back when you could maybe be in position 7 and still show up on the page. As Google has changed things, they're now shifting to this other terminology about absolute top being what used to be position 1, and then any of the results that are kind of in that top section as top prominence.
And it's interesting because, is to kind of provide a cleaner experience for the user. But they, for a while, there were 10 results on the page. There was a right-hand column. They weren't super effective. They weren't getting clicks. They were making the overall page look a little more cluttered and ad heavy. But what it's done is it has increased competition for those top spots, and it's driven up price since it's a bidded environment. So it's interesting.
Yeah, you could be in position 6 before and still get a little bit of traffic, but now you really have to be the top 2.
Yeah.
Great. So the main components that we'll talk about the ads are the headline, that big blue section of the ad, the display URL, which is not necessarily where the ad is going to take you.
Correct. There's some cool tricks to using a good display URL that might entice a user.
And then the description, and that's all created generally by the marketer building that campaign. Although there's some automation that Google's providing now to automate some of that process. In the last section is something that's really been a big deal for Google, like in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
As they've added these additional things they call ad extensions, these additional components, and there's a whole bunch of them. The ones that are prominent here are the site links.
Yeah, and the idea there was twofold. It was to give the user more ways to interact with your ad. It also creates a thing where the ad takes up more visual real estate and it draws the user's eyes. So as they were doing this, it was good for the consumer, but also good for Google because they were driving up the amount of clicks these ads got, or in Google's parlance, they call that the click-through rate. So out of every 1,000 times it's served, how often do people choose to click? They found pretty early by making these ads more expansive that people were more inclined to click. And sometimes they'll click on that headline, but sometimes they would click on those site links. You can do phone extensions if your business is really, more powered by a call center and you want people to call in. You can do location extensions if you're a local business so people could bring it right up on their Google Maps. There's a lot of different types of extensions these days, but they're really to enhance the experience of the app.
Yeah, you can definitely see how that could fit into sort of Google's mission of making it easier for the user to get right to the information that they are looking for by navigating them right into your kind of site map on your on your site, rather than having to go to the home page and then figure out where it is you want to go from there. So I think it was sort of Google saw it anyway as a win-win for their user experience as well as their advertisers.
They're such a great company about testing something, and if it works, it proliferates, and if it doesn't, they kill it off pretty quickly. So if they've been doing this in earnest for 6 or 7 years, you know the data's there to say it's working.
Right. Conveniently for them, it also creates a big incentive to be in that position 1 where you get all that extra real estate on the page. And so that drives up bids and all the other things that they're looking for. So conveniently it works for them.
Win.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So within the actual campaigns that the marketers are building, the two main components are going to be the keywords and the ads. The keywords are how the marketer tells Google what is relevant for the user to get that marketer's ads as a result. So this is where a marketer says, here's all the things that someone might be searching for which Google should show my ad.
Yep. And this is interesting on the keyword side. I'll try not to go too in depth with it, but it is important. You'll see this set of keywords in that box. They have different kind of functions with them. So the first keyword is vinyl, and that's what they would call a broad match. You don't see any quotes, you don't see any plus sign. And that means Google's going to show an ad for any time somebody searches vinyl in any query. So it doesn't mean they just search the word vinyl. And if I'm a big record head, when I hear vinyl, I think vinyl records. But that could be somebody searching for vinyl siding.
Yeah.
And then you'd show your ad, right? And that could be money poorly spent. The next one down is plus vinyl plus records. They call that modified broad. And that means the query could be anything, but those two words have to be present in any order.
So if I'm searching for vinyl siding, I'm probably not also putting records, and so that limits it down.
Correct. So it's going to limit that down, but that could still potentially not be great for your business.
Okay.
That could be, somebody searching for the Brooklyn Vinyl Record Fair. That's a local thing.
Yeah.
It's it's an event. It's just not maybe relevant to your business. So then you go down one level to record club, and that's in quotes, and that's what they call a phrase match. So that phrase has to appear, and those words have to be conjoined. But it could still be something. I'm trying to think what would be a good example that wouldn't exactly fit for record club. So it could be jazz record club, but maybe that's not the focus of the business. So yes, record club's still in there, but maybe it's still not an exact target. I think of these as kind of concentric circles, your bullseye, and the last one in those square brackets is what's called exact match. And so that means it's got to be that phrase and just that phrase. So that's only people looking for a record subscription. You're going to really limit your audience because people search in lots of different ways. They use language that, it's hard to always think of every permutation. So you're going to limit your market, but you're going to know they're more targeted, maybe have more intent.
Got it. So you might want to start with those targeted ones, and as you need more traffic.
Especially if you're a small business running on a limited budget, how you manage your keyword types can be one of the most critical things to your early campaign success. And if you have a little bit of success, you can start to build on that. Go to those outer rings, experiment with some modified broad and some stuff to open you up to a bigger audience. But you want to start with the keywords that you think are really most relevant in a pretty tight match type.
And then the last one is world, which is if someone's searching for world records, that's not someone you want to get.
Right. Yeah. So that's a negative, right? Yeah. So we want to take that keyword out of the search. We say we never want to show an ad for something that has this in.
You could put negative Guinness on there as well.
Right.
Make sure you're
yes, exactly.
Spending money on those people. Great. And then you've got your ads. And as we talked about a lot, the relevance there is super important. So Google pushes a lot, I think, to say, let's make sure the ad that you're showing is relevant to what the person is searching for. And you may have thousands of keywords within your site. And so you'll want to have ads specific to the keywords for each set of keywords.
Yeah.
So Google accomplishes that by giving you this construct of the ad group, where you can say, well, these 10 keywords are relevant to these 3 different ads.
Yeah, and that group pairing is really essential. Best practice is still to kind of keep that to about 20 keywords or less matched with any ad. So in the record example, if I have jazz records and indie rock records and hip hop records, I might want those in different ad groups because it speaks to a different customer and I can get them to the right place on my site and I can make sure the ad's really relevant. So if they searched hip hop records, I want to make sure that phrase appears in my ad. So when they see the ad, they're like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to step through and get onto your site.
And not only do you want that as a marketer, Google wants you to do that,
yes.
And they actually punish you if you don't do
that. Right. The less relevant that ad is, the worse it is for everyone, the user, for Google, and they'll punish you a little bit.
Is there any sort of best practice on how many ad groups? I know it probably varies a lot.
It depends on your product mix. If you had 100 distinct products, you might end up with 100 ad groups, I kind of map it to the ad groups to like the architecture of your site. If you've got, okay, this is the jazz, collection of records, then that needs its own ad group. And I'm going to go think of keywords that are relevant to people searching for jazz records specifically.
Okay, so all of those ad groups then are contained within your campaign.
Yeah.
And the campaigns where you set a lot of those settings for your budget, right?
Yeah, the campaign level is also really important. It's kind of encapsulates your daily budget, like to whom the ads are going to show geographically, right?
Like
Like
targeting.
if for some reason I wanted to show hip hop ads only to people on the East Coast or something like that, I could set that at the campaign level. So that would be a reason to break that out, not just as an ad group, but as a separate campaign. So there are some settings that are critical at the campaign level, but the ad group level is really where you get that contextual focus of keyword matches ad matches the place you're going to land them on your website.
Right. Okay, so all those campaigns then live within your overall account,
Yeah.
which is, you can think of like a Gmail address.
And that's really just for billing, right?
Yeah.
The account level is who can access this and who runs the billing. Campaign is a set of settings around who might see your ads, like globally, geographically, time of day, things like
How
that.
much money you're going to spend on it.
Exactly. And then ad group is really where you get that contextual relevance with the keyword.
Great. And we'll come back to some of these when we actually set up the
Totally.
campaign.